actually joining us from her farm today, which is very exciting. And we're going to hope that the internet holds up. So if there's any dropping, we will know why. And I will jump in as needed. But in any case, thank you guys so much for joining us again. And we really hope that today's session is going to be interesting. One of the things that comes up a lot in the conversations we have with people is that they are interested in building their personal brand, but they are not interested in posting on LinkedIn. So it is something that, it's a very common thing that people have an aversion to. The good news is you don't actually have to post on LinkedIn. And as we've discussed in previous weeks of these series, your personal brand is built, in the rooms that you are not in. And so LinkedIn serves as a vehicle for building your personal brand, but it is not your personal brand. So in today's session, what we're going to do is kind of a quick fire round, going through 12 practical ways that you can actually build your personal brand without having to publish content on LinkedIn. So without further ado, I'm going to shoot over to Sabine, who's going to kick us off, and we're going to go one by one through 12, hopefully very useful things for you. So Sabine, you can take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. And hi, everyone. I'm so glad that we get to do this again. Maybe if you are lucky, you'll see a couple of animals walking around behind me. But and like Sam said, I hope my internet keeps up. We had a few thunderstorms and a few strong winds. So anyways, hopefully all goes well. I'm going to kick things off with the first thing that you can do to build your personal brand that does not require you to be posting on social media. And so my first tip would be to focus and to hone your positioning. Once you are really clear on what you want to be known for, and you take active steps to ensuring other people are aligned with that version, then you ultimately attract the best and the right opportunities. And so that doesn't necessarily mean you have to post on social media. Like Sam was saying, that is a vehicle. But when you really understand your expertise, you understand how to introduce yourself, you understand how to pitch yourself, you understand the value that you bring to an organization, whether you're an employee or whether you're a service provider, then everything becomes a lot clearer and a lot aligned. And so that's the first thing that you can do to not post on social media, but still build your personal brand. Sam, I'm going to ping it back to you for the second point.
Yeah, perfect. So mine actually ladders very nicely off of what Sabina's just said. So my advice is to spend time honing your elevator pitch. So you want to even come up with a 30-second spiel that you can rehearse in advance that basically tells people what it is you do. And it's very clear. You can deliver it with confidence. There's no stumbling. And so every time you meet somebody, it's very clear, what your expertise is, why they should hire you, and maybe why they should be referring you to somebody else. So think very clearly about how you can articulate yourself in 30 seconds or less. So what you're going to want to be thinking about is like, what are you good at? Why people should be hiring you, and if they're going to refer you to someone, what is the service that you're offering? Another piece of advice in here is to even think about a signature story that you can be telling. This is important. We do a lot of this in our positioning workshops with our clients. We basically try to extract stories that will help them, I guess, give validity to the reason for why they are doing the piece of work that they're doing. So come up with maybe your origin story. Why is the work that you do so important to you? Why are you passionate about it? Did something happen in your childhood that, sparked an interest in this specific thing? Did you watch your parents maybe doing something similar, or they were struggling and it inspired like a story in you? And so I guess it takes a little bit of digging to understand what that story could be. But if you can find something like that, they're nice little memorable pieces of information that you can drop into these conversations that will help solidify that personal brand for you. So really makes you memorable. And if you can deliver it with confidence and you can do it in 30 to 60 seconds max, then you're in a good way.
Nice. I love that, Sam. And I actually think that brings me to my next point, because we've got positioning. So figuring out what are you good at, your expertise, how to articulate that. If we add on Samantha's version of having a signature story, so knowing your elevator pitch and being able to tell that in a story, being able to maybe use some personal anecdotes and life experiences. My third tip for this series would be looking at strategic networking. And now the way that I would basically tackle this is I'm going to give a quick example. Let's say I'm an executive and I'm looking to go independent, and I'm looking to attract clients or potential partners within a certain industry or market. I would literally create an Excel spreadsheet, and I would look for who are the key decision makers or the key influencers within that space, and how can I start putting myself in those rooms or in those conversations or at the same events that these people are attending. And so again, strategic networking in person, attending these events, being really, really clever with who you are connecting with and who is connecting you to other people, and not just taking, but also giving, is such an important part of building your personal brand. And something that we often believe, or that we often say, is more often than not, it's your offline reputation and things you do offline that are sometimes even more important than the things you do online. So adding in that element of strategic networking, not just doing it for the sake of it, can really help you build your personal brand offline and help you attract those opportunities.
Awesome. Great. So tip number 4 then is actually, again, a great extension of this. When you think of strategic networking, a really easy bridge to do that is going to be joining a professional body. So think about the industry that you're in and join any of the professional bodies that exist for your industry. So for example, if you work in HR, there is the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. If you are in PR, you have the CIPR. If you work in procurement, you've got the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply Chain. So most industries will have a professional body that you can take part in. Find them, become a member, and then go to their local events. You can be a member taking part in chapter events. You can volunteer as part of a committee. You can ask for speaking opportunities. So it's a really, really good way to actually build your personal brand in a community of people who, you know, you're going to want to get to know. And they're going to be people who are your peers, people who are in your same industry, who can potentially refer you. And so the way that you're showing up in these things, showing that you're really enthusiastic, you want to be involved, you're volunteering your time, it's going to go a long way with people wanting to, you know, give you business and, you know, and refer you in the ways that they can.
Yeah, great tips, Sam. I'm going to move on to another piece of, I guess, advice that we have. And I think, Sam, this is something that you do really well, which is being in the right places. Sam is an absolute pro at this, and I'll give an example of what she will do in Dubai when we're there for work purposes. Is she will insert herself into the right hotel lobbies, and into the right lounges and the right co-working places. And again, Sam is a natural networker. She's outgoing. She can be a bit of a chatterbox. So for her to meet anyone is super, super easy. And so making sure you are in the right places at the right time, and you're also not shy to actually like take the step forward and introduce yourself to someone can make such a massive difference. Something as simple as just switching up the place where you're working from. So instead of working from whatever your regular Starbucks or near a cafe or wherever it is you choose to work from, or if you're like me, working from home, and just making that intentional decision to work from a place where there are other people, either like you or people you want to influence, that already starts to create that shift as well. And so being really intentional with the places that you're frequenting, even thinking about community. Sam just mentioned the industry bodies, which is a really important one, membership clubs, events that you're attending, always thinking a little bit further to see, well, will this location or this environment have the people that I want to influence or the people that I want to naturally associate with myself with? And if the answer is yes, then find a way to be in that place.
Awesome. Great advice. And thanks for the compliment. Brilliant. So moving on then, the next thing I want to call out, because I think that too few people do this, is actually building really good connections with event organizers. So if you are someone who doesn't want to post on LinkedIn, but you're actually still happy to maybe take a part in, you know, events, you maybe want to be on panels, you want to, you know, just be more visible in person, then this is a really great place to start. So have a think about the different types of events that you might want to speak at in the future or be a part of in some way. Find who the event organizer is, maybe even go to that event. Introduce yourself to that person, either in person or through LinkedIn, whatever makes the most sense for you. and establish a relationship with them. And over time, and this isn't going to happen overnight, but over time, you can start to become that person who they are going to consider for future events. They're going to be, you'll be top of mind for anything that's coming up. And so just even connecting with these people in the first place is going to make a really big difference. So, these events don't just kind of happen miraculously. They happen actually through really close connections. And I think when you're mindful of that and realizing that, like, someone has to choose all of the panelists who are sitting there, they need to choose the keynote speakers, be best friends with that person, see how you can get in their pocket, follow them on different accounts if you need to, introduce yourself in person. I think it's going to make a really big difference to them getting to know you on a more intimate level and considering you for future opportunities.
Yeah, great one, Sam. And I think just to add to that, when you're reaching out to conference organizers or you're pitching yourself, also know what you're pitching yourself for. And again, that is why we go back to positioning, which was our first part, was if you understand your expertise and you understand the value that you bring within a professional context, then it's a lot easier for you to pitch yourself. If you're just going there, introducing yourself with no ideas to the unique value that you bring or how you could impact the conference positively, then I would say a lot of those efforts are a little bit pointless. I'm going to move on to the next tip. I know we said don't post on social media. However, that doesn't mean you can't use social media. And so my next tip goes into use LinkedIn without posting any content. And so the ways that you can do that is you can connect intelligently with the people that you actually want to be connected with. Again, that's one of the top things that I love about LinkedIn as a platform, is that you can literally search for your ideal client and you can send them a connection request and you can find ways to connect with them, be it through commenting, liking their content, sending them a DM, if that's obviously, of course, very intentional. And so that is the beauty of the platform. And so you can use LinkedIn in that way, with searching for your ideal client or ideal employer, sending them a connection request, following them, engaging with their content. You can comment on other content as well. So that's technically not posting your own native content. So you can find content that you are naturally inspired or engaged with. And you can share something thoughtful under that thread as well. And comments sometimes actually get more reach and create a greater impact than standalone LinkedIn posts. And so that is another thing that you can do. You could also collaborate with people. You could join lives like we're doing today. Again, all that requires is for you to show up and to share your expertise and share what you have to say. And so there are different things that you can do and ways that you can use LinkedIn that does not involve posting. And then last but not least, since we are talking about positioning in the beginning, please update your profile. So the way that you can use LinkedIn without actually posting is just update your profile with actually what it is that you do and who you're looking to attract, and making sure you've got a great profile picture, banner, about section, experience, section skills, etc., so that when somebody does look you up, at least the information is accurate. So if you don't want to post, then there are at least 4 or 5 things you can do on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Awesome. Great tips. Moving on then, some of you might know I actually have a background in PR. I spent 10 years working in PR before actually starting this business with Sabine. And so I would be amiss to leave this out, but PR efforts are a really effective way to build your personal brand. So you don't need to use LinkedIn to do this. Some simple ways that you could consider it is, reaching out to different publications that would be writing about maybe the type of service you offer, a different type of story angle that you have that would link back to your business. Think creatively about the different news hooks that you could have. I'm not going to go into how you can do that, but there's lots of different resources available online. So if you're a single person, you're a solo entrepreneur, you can still get PR for free, writing press releases and coming up with strategic hooks. So go and do that if that's something that's of interest, but spend some time thinking about how you can pitch yourself for some of these, online newspapers, for magazines, etc. That's one thing. And just as a tip, you can go on to any publication. So whether it's the Wall Street Journal or Arabian Business, you can go into their editorial directory. You can find the people who write for specific areas and topics, and then you can email them directly with your pitch. So again, knowing exactly what it is you want to talk about, making sure it's topical, it's the type of stuff that journalist would generally write about, but use that opportunity to pitch yourself. So you can do it, it's free, anyone has the ability to. Of course, you can get a freelancer if you wanted to, but this is all stuff that you can do on your own. Podcast is another big one. Any podcast that would, be interesting for your target audience, where you feel like you would be a really interesting speaker, put yourself forward. Don't wait to be invited to these things. You have to pitch yourself. You have to be hungry for opportunities. So again, do that. A lot of podcast hosts, you can find them on LinkedIn, you can find them on Instagram, reach out directly and just shoot your shot. Simple as that. And then the final one I'll say is awards as well. This is overlooked in the PR space. I think a lot of us spend too much time waiting for opportunities to come our way when we can actually go make them ourselves. So again, if, excuse me, say if Arabian Business is doing their annual awards, they do lots of different things, maybe the best, communications person in the region, put yourself forward, go to all of these different things, see who is doing, different annual awards, and then find the category that makes the most sense for you and put yourself forward. You don't have to wait for others or for your employer to put you forward for these things. You can do it yourself. And so it's overlooked, but it's going to help you build your brand, and it's going to establish a lot more credibility for you if you're someone who is seen to have, a string of awards behind you. So definitely give that a little bit of time. And I think it would be a really good opportunity for most of you.
Nice one. Thanks, Sam. And before we crack on, guys, please feel free to drop any comments that you have, any questions that you have. We're going to address them in about the next 5 minutes. So we'll try to wrap up really quickly before jumping into the comments. But please feel free to start dropping those along, and then we'll answer them. My next piece is to ultimately be smart about the education that you are pursuing. Now, many of us might have pursued an MBA or EMBA at some point. And most of the time, if you're doing something like an EMBA, so an executive MBA, you're doing it also for the association and for the potential network. I know that is something that I did when, this was about 7-8 years ago, when I first started on my EMBA journey. And I was actually very strategic with the type of university that I chose, and of course, then the network that would come with that. And truth be told, that network still today, so 7-8 years later, and I never actually graduated with my EMBA, but that network has still served me to this very day. And I'm still in touch with a lot of these people. And a lot of these people are my potential customers or have referred business my way, and vice versa. So if you are strategic about the education that you're pursuing, and this doesn't mean a massive degree, it can be a leadership short course, it can be an AI course, it can be something online, maybe through Harvard Business or one of these other business schools. Naturally, that gets you into an interesting network. It gets you introduced to the right type of people that you might want to be doing business with, or that could potentially introduce you. And then that's, of course, always going to pay off. And so if you're smart about education and the choices that you make relating to that, then again, that's another way of building your personal brand that does not involve posting on social media. Sam, we've got a couple of tips left, so I'll swing back to you.
Awesome. Next one, guys, is, again, a little bit of an overlooked one, but this is building your executive presence. And this comes in a few different facets. And I guess what I would focus in on here first, I'm going to go digitally because that's where we are today. Every time you show up for an interaction, you are developing your personal brand. So it gives people information about your values, about the way that you behave, about the way that you see the world. Are you positive? Do you have a really good attitude? Are you bubbly? Are you effervescent? Are you a bit low? Are you very slow when you speak? All of these things are going to make a difference to how people perceive you and whether they want to work with you. And so what I will say is be very mindful of how you present yourself. I, for one, I'm going to use myself as an example. I will never join a Zoom call if I don't have like hair and makeup done. I mean, I do it myself. I'm not, booking, makeup artists and hairstylists and everything for calls, but I have a personal standard that I have for myself that I would never join a call, whether it's with clients or with my internal team, not looking my best. And that's important to me. And that comes down to the way that I dress, to the way that I do my hair, my makeup, my jewelry, my background. For every call, you know, you can't see it now, but I make sure that there are things there. And I also have things behind me that are representative of my personality. And when I tell you the number of times people have commented on the stuff behind me, the Dolly Parton book actually is one. It's a conversation starter, RIP to the Queen of Country. But it's something that, you know, a lot of people will call out, and it's a good conversation. They get to know me before we've even had a conversation. So think about where you can dot a few things with your personality behind you. So that's number one for kind of like being digital, but that also carries into, you know, personal interaction. So when you walk into a room, are you doing with confidence? You know, are you coming in with like a backpack on and a laptop bag, like, and grocery bags? You know, are you wearing trainers with a nice outfit? But think about the way that you're showing up, especially for the people who might be your target audience. So you always have to kind of dress with them in mind and, you know, present yourself with them in mind. So yeah, your executive presence, something to think about and something to kind of carry through, whether it's digital or in person.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be said about just being a likable person, and just having great energy and being someone that others want to be around as well. There's nothing worse than walking into a room or being on a Zoom call with somebody who's overly cynical, who just has this energy that drags you down. And so sometimes you do need to just check yourself before you walk into a room and recognize that, you know, people would more likely thrive or be attracted to you if you have a good energy and if you're a great conversationalist, if you have these stories that Sam mentioned earlier, if you know how to position yourself and how to articulate what you do. So these are all very small building blocks to building your personal brand and just being someone that people want to be around. My final tip would be, and again, we said you're not posting on social media, but that doesn't mean that you can't post on WhatsApp. And so one of the things that I think is so underrated is to have a really strong WhatsApp community or a really strong and engaged WhatsApp broadcast list. So there are various ways that you can structure this, be it a community, be it a group, be it a broadcast list, whatever it is that you want to do. But ultimately being somebody who shares relevant information and who shares their perspective on that. And so almost having a WhatsApp strategy and making sure that, of course, your phone book is filled with these strategic people that you want to be engaged with. So again, going back to that strategic networking, and then finding ways every week or every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks to add value to these people. And so some examples that I've seen work really well. One of our clients, he's a financial advisor, and he would create a PDF every single week and share that with his clients for them to read, for them to pass on to other people as well. And I think that's what we sometimes forget, is that more often than not, when you are receiving something valuable on WhatsApp, you're going to hit that forward button and you're going to send it to somebody else who could also benefit from that information. And so having almost a WhatsApp strategy, or just thinking about how you can add value through your WhatsApp contacts. And this doesn't mean just blasting random information. Always add your perspective and, of course, keep some level of consistency through that. I think that's massively underrated. And I think people really forget how quickly news can spread as well through WhatsApp, especially if it's relevant, if it's aligned with their interests, and if it's adding value to their lives.
Awesome. Great advice. And super. So the final one that I'm going to leave you guys with today is, if you are not getting invited into the right rooms, create the room yourself. And so what I mean by this is, be the person who creates micro gatherings. You can host your own events. You don't have to wait for other events to happen. You can be the person who says, do you know what? I work in project management. I want to host a breakfast with 10 people who are also from the industry. And I want to just, network with you guys. I want to discuss, problems that we're seeing in the industry. I